Morning, good evening, or good afternoon. Not sure what time it is that you're watching this. This is my third attempt at doing a flipped classroom PowerPoint video. We're looking at Chapter 8, which is titled Deviance and Social Control. It's broken into two sections. Section 1, which is Deviance, and Section 2, which is Crime. As with each new chapter, we have essential questions, and there are several here, along with objectives for each section. So, here's the first few essential questions. What is the nature and social function of deviance? How do the theories that have been proposed to explain deviance compare? How can deviance be seen as having both a positive and negative impact on society? What are the principal types of crime in the United States? What are characteristics of the American criminal justice system? What purpose does the American correction system fulfill? The objectives for Section 1. By the time we finish this section, you should be able to answer both of these objectives. Explain the nature and social functions of deviance, and compare the theories that have been proposed to explain deviance. The nature of deviance. Because there are so many norms governing behavior, occasional violations are unavoidable. What is considered deviant varies from society to society. Social functions of deviance. Deviance helps to clarify norms. It defines the boundaries of acceptable behavior. Deviance unifies the group, or is unifying the group. It serves to draw the line between conforming members of society and what we consider, or who we consider to be outsiders, the non-conforming members. Thirdly, deviance is supposed to work for diffusing tension. Deviance would be acts that allow individuals to relieve tension without disrupting the basic fabrics of society. Deviance helps to promote social change. It can help promote social change by identifying problem areas. Also, deviance works to provide jobs. It provides legitimate jobs for a wide range of people. Depending on the severity of deviance, we have people who need to be arrested. Once one is arrested, one goes to court. After one goes to court, there's a possibility of one going to jail. The arresting police officer is a legitimate job. The lawyers and the judges are legitimate jobs, and the prison guards and the prisons themselves all provide legitimate jobs. So deviance, in a sense, does provide jobs for a wide range of people. The theory of deviance. There are the three different perspectives. The functionalist perspective sees deviance as the natural outgrowth of the values, norms, and structures of society. The conflict theorist sees deviance as a result of competition and social inequality. The interactionists see deviance as either natural in people with weak ties to the community, otherwise known as the control theory. They also may see deviance as a learned behavior, which would be the cultural transmission theory, or they may see it as being labeled, and that would fit with the labeling theory. Question. What theories have been proposed to explain deviance? The next slide is going to have a chart, which I will go through, looking at the three different perspectives, the specific name of the theory, questions that we would ask based upon the theory, and answers. So the functionalist perspective has a theory called the strain theory, which is derived by a man named Robert K. Merton, who we will take a look at later on in one of these different PowerPoints. But the question that the strain theory would ask is, how do individuals respond to culturally approved goals and the legitimate means of achieving them? And there are 5 different ways that they could respond to that. One is through conformity, one is through innovation, one is through ritualism, retreatism, and rebellion. The conflict has the conflict theory. The question is, what is the result of competition and social inequality? The answer is deviance. Who decides what is deviant? It's those who make the rules, or the ruling class, who will decide what is acceptable behavior and what is not. And since they're the ruling class, they'll make the determination who is deviant and who isn't, or what is deviant and what isn't. With the interactionists, we have 3 different theories. The first one is the control theory. And the question is, why do people conform to norms? And the answer is that the strength of the social ties that these people have will determine their conformity. So the stronger the ties the individual has to the community will determine how much conformity they have. If you have strong ties to the community, then you would more than likely conform to what it is society is asking you as the individual to do, or the group to do. Cultural transmission. How do people learn conformity or deviance? They learn it through socialization or the interactions with others. Where does this learning mainly occur? Well, it occurs through the primary groups. You tend to do what your friends are doing, and so if they are conforming, then you may conform. If they are being deviant, then you may find yourself being deviant. Let's take example, you're in the cafeteria sitting at the lunch table, and you've got several of your friends in your primary group who are being nonconformists for the most part, that they're leaving their food wrappers either on the table or under the table. You may not initially do this, but because you see your friends doing it and they seem to be getting away with it, you may decide that you may also do the same thing, therefore becoming deviant. Or it may be the other way around, that you are being deviant by leaving your stuff, and you see your friends are constantly picking their stuff up and saying, why should I leave this for somebody else to clean up? I'm very capable of taking my trash up and putting it away. That you want to comply with what your friends are doing because they're part of your primary group, and you decide instead of leaving your trash, you would take your trash up also. Lastly, you have labeling. How do people become identified as deviant? Well, it's through their secondary deviances or by being labeled as a deviant. You can go back to elementary school and you can think about these kids that you know that seem to always get themselves into trouble. This kind of fits along with the self-fulfilling prophecy. These kids tend to get a label that they're the bad kids, that you really don't want to hang out with those kids. They're primarily going to become part of your secondary group. Or you may find that you are one of those people that's labeled as a bad kid. You've tried to change your ways, not so much of a troublemaker, but because over the years you've had this label attached to you, you still are labeled as being a bad kid, when in reality you're not. That's part of the labeling theory.